You're watching the Big 12 on ESPN. Football weather has arrived for West Virginia and number 16 Kansas State. The Wildcats currently in first place in the rough and rugged Big 12 standings as we approach the month of November. Great to have you with us as always with Kelly Stoffer. I am Roy Philpott. Dr. Jerry Punch joins us on the sideline in just a couple of minutes. And Kelly, you talk about Kansas State in this fantastic start. You got to look in the backfield, and it's a bunch of freshmen back there, and Will Howard and Deuce Vaughn leading the charge.
Absolutely, and Roy, you have to think that that's the key to this game is how those true freshmen handle the best defense that they're going to see all year. And Will Howard took over for Skylar Thompson, and quite frankly hasn't skipped a beat, passed every test. And then Deuce Vaughn, he's a 5'5", 160-pound stick of dynamite. He does everything exceptionally well, a very violent runner for his size, very good player.
Standings tell the story, Kelly. Kansas State undefeated at 4-0 in Big 12 play. West Virginia won the coin toss and deferred to the second half. We are underway, Milan Puskar Stadium. And pushed out of bounds, Malik Knowles, as Kansas State will get it at around its own 20-yard line. Well, you mentioned Deuce Vaughn, only 5'5", Kelly. You caught him a stick of dynamite early in the week, and I tell you what, he's awfully hard to find, and he has speed to burn.
Yeah, that low center of gravity, and it's amazing because he literally gets lost behind linemen and gains angles on the defense. Very hard to tackle, quick twitch, really doesn't even do it justice because his feet are absolutely elite.
And our first look at Will Howard making his third start, just 19 years of age. And from right up the road out of a suburb in Philadelphia, Downingtown. He's won his first two starts, play action on first down. And the pocket collapses, a dangerous toss. It's going to fall incomplete, trying to spot Taylor. That was Sebastian Taylor. It'll bring up second down.
Yeah, dangerous indeed. And Will Howard has made great decisions thus far after taking over for Skylar Thompson. But he has to continue to advance. This defense that he's playing today with West Virginia is the best defense that not only he has seen in his career, but most likely that this team, Kansas State, will see all season long.
That was Pooler applying the pressure on a brilliant afternoon for football in West Virginia. Play action again. Howard back to the air is going to fling one deep and incomplete. So quickly it's third down.
And West Virginia has played really, really good defense the entire season. And the way that their defensive scheme is described is it's a 4-2-5-ish type of setup, but they play with 3-4 personnel. And they have the Stills brothers on the defensive line of scrimmage that are absolutely disruptive.
Stills brothers, one of the main reasons why West Virginia is one of the top defensive teams in America this year. Big play for K-State early on third down. Under duress, the pass is tipped, and it's going to be intercepted by the Mountaineers. Nick Troy Fortune comes down with it, and an early mistake for K-State.
And quite frankly, Will Howard has looked shaky thus far. He's made really good decisions, but 2 out of those 3 passes weren't very good decisions at all. And Fortune ends up coming down with this ball, but there's inside pressure, and then it's throwing into traffic. 3 defenders surrounding Brooks, the intended receiver. Just very ill-advised and very uncharacteristic-like with Howard early in his career.
First pick for Nick Troy Fortune this season. And how about K-State taking to the air for its first 3 plays from scrimmage as West Virginia takes over in plus territory. Letty Brown in a punishing run. He'll pick up a first down and a gain of 11. So West Virginia in business early.
And that's who West Virginia is offensively, is giving the ball to Letty Brown, who's one of the most violent carriers of the football that I've seen in college football in 2020.
Now over 600 yards on the ground this season for number 4, Letty Brown, the junior out of Philly.
And Brown averages over 7 yards in the tackle box. He seems to love it in tight spaces.
As O'Loughlin in motion, Brown the inside give and brought down right at the 30-yard line. Wyatt Hubert got there first, one of the top defensive ends in the Big 12.
And Liddy Brown has been fantastic this year. He actually took over the run game for West Virginia a year ago, kind of mid to late season, and has been highly productive ever since.
So after a gain of 3, Dakey to the air towards the end zone, swatted away at the last second. Nico Boydo got there, and a nice play deep in the K-State secondary.
And that's a really good matchup. Boydo is going to be in press coverage a lot on Ford Wheaton outside, and Deji needs to take that next step forward. He, to me, is a little hit and miss. I think he gets off his foundation in terms of throwing the football at times. He's more decisive, but fundamentally he has to continue to make strides in order to become a more accurate passer.
3rd down, Jared Dakey started his career at Bowling Green, is going to be flushed and brought down. Khalid Duke got there for the sack for Kansas State.
And you wonder if this is going to be 4-down territory after that turnover, but a lot of the pressure comes from that down 4. They get into a speed package with 4 defensive ends in pass down situations, and Duke is that guy that's benefited from playing opposite of Hubert on the other side. Wyatt Hubert was the preseason Big 12 Player of the Year, NFL talent guy, and Duke benefits from being the bookend on the other side.
So after a loss of 4, a 51-yard effort on the way from Evan Staley, and he hooked it wide left. So Kansas State with a big defensive stand after the interception. Just underway in the heart of the Big 12. We're scoreless. Morgantown, Kelly Stoffer, Roy Philpott, and Dr. Jerry Punch. This Big 12 battle scoreless after an early turnover. West Virginia, one of the top defensive units in the country. In fact, leading the nation in total D for teams that have played more than a game so far. The Kansas State defense with Wyatt Hubert and Khalid Duke come up with an early stop. Howard's going to keep it. Does have some athleticism, brought down at the 40. That'll be a gain of 6 on 1st down. Chandler Samito with a stop.
And Howard is a big, strong athlete. He's 6'4", 230, and does have the ability to run the ball. Was more of a quarterback zone read guy in high school. And so we've seen that on tape. Designed runs and also the read game that we just saw right there in that fly sweep motion. Roy, it was very uncharacteristic
first down there, Kelly,
for Kansas State to come out throwing the football. And sometimes offenses want to break tendencies, but I wouldn't recommend that against West Virginia's defense. West Virginia is going to make you earn everything today, and you have to throw when you have an advantage. But who Kansas State wants to be is a power downhill type of run team.
So after a gain of 9, Wildcats back at it. First carry for Harry Trotter, started his career at Louisville. And he'll pick up 3 on 1st down with a stop by Tony Fields.
And Trotter is kind of the change of pace guy, certainly a bigger back, but Deuce Vaughn is a true tailback. He wanted to go to school somewhere that would recognize him as their tailback, even though Deuce Vaughn is 5'5", 165 pounds. He's a dynamo. Out in space, he's almost impossible to bring down by yourself.
Wildcats in Mountaineer territory. Play action for Howard, under duress again, flings it, and it's going to be caught. That's the tight end, Briley Moore, carrying defenders into the red zone.
Briley Moore is the best receiver on this team, and has been ever since he transferred from Northern Iowa. He's going to start on the end of the line of scrimmage and leak across on that play action in the backfield. A lot of window dressing, misdirection, and then it's the big tight end, 6'4", 250. And so he loves to set an edge in the run game and takes pride in that, but he's a mismatch in the pass game.
He may be the best tight end in the Big 12. The production certainly makes it feel that way. Sebastian Taylor, another target, this time a grab and a gain of 8.
And so, Roy, what we're going to see out of Kansas State offensively is their foundation is really a downhill power game, even though their star running back is 5'5", a $160. And they attack the A-gaps in the box, and then they use the tight end more as what we call a sniffer, kind of a move tight end to create an extra hat, and then there's a ton of play action when that run game has been established.
Vaughn without a touch so far. Trotter gets it again around the left side. Plenty of real estate towards the pylon, and he's ushered out just short of the end zone. It'll bring up first down and goal for the Wildcats. A dive with a tackle.
And certainly Vaughn can get to the edge. He is not only fast, but he's incredibly quick. Quick twitch type of guy. You see the lead blocker outside is Vaughn, and then Trotter is more of the changeup guy. So you can't really just count on one carrying the rock, and you can't count on Vaughn going to the edge. Vaughn will stick his nose in there and block for Trotter like we saw in that play.
Trotter, the senior, started against the Mountaineers last year. Option play, and Howard going to be stacked up right at the line. It'll bring up second and goal. Tony Fields and Dante Stills combined to make the stop.
And a lot of times, Roy, you're going to be calling Dante Stills or Darius Stills, and they're the nose tackle and the defensive tackle / defensive end respectively, and those guys are really disruptive. Dante's 55, and he's the younger brother and more the NFL prototypical size, and Darius is slightly smaller inside, but he's absolutely disruptive.
Stills, of course, a preseason Big 12 Player of the Year. Play action. Howard keeps it, flips it towards the end zone, and it's ruled incomplete. Taylor was in the area, and a lot happening on that play, about a yard deep, looking for the fullback, Jax Deneen.
And usually what's happening is a lot of window dressing, bells and whistles off of that run game, and then it's throwing play action off of that. It looked to me like Deneen might have had this catch. Does he have possession?
Is under further review.
I don't know, Roy. What do you think about that? It looked to me like the fullback might have had a touchdown pass right there.
Well, you're looking for him to complete the act of the reception itself in the end zone. Our replay official, Jack McDonald. We expected Deneen to be a bigger part of the game plan today for Kansas State, the sophomore out of Lawrence.
Yeah, look for the fullbacks to carry the ball today as well, but the first thing you're looking for is firm control with the hand or the arm. And then it's obviously you have to get a body part down, and then it's that time element. You have to perform an act common to the game, and that's the question here. As Deneen, the fullback, goes to the ground, he has it impaled on his left shoulder pad, and then the defender comes in and knocks it loose. The question is, did he have firm control? And then it's that time element, something common to the game. In this case, it's as simple as sliding on your hind end in the end zone. Is that the qualification of that time element? That's what the replay booth is going to be looking at.
After review, the ruling on the field is confirmed. It's an incomplete pass.
That ball grazed the turf right as he began to gain control. And I don't think there was enough video evidence, obviously, to overturn it. So third and goal upcoming for K-State.
And Roy, we talked about the possibility of fullbacks carrying it for Kansas State. Today, this might be one of those occasions. We haven't seen the fullbacks carry it much in 2020 as of yet. Today might be that time.
Vaughn motions out. Howard looking towards the end zone, was hit and incomplete. The pressure got there, and it came quickly for K-State. It was Tony Fields.
And we know that the pass game is more difficult the more you get down, and you see that Stills is going to come off the edge. It's actually Fields coming off the edge to the blind side of the quarterback, but it's a coverage on the back end. And the pass game in terms of dynamic wide receivers really doesn't exist right now for Kansas State, and you can see it there.
Lynch on for a 21-yard field goal. It's good, and Kansas State strikes first. A great season for Blake Lynch continues. We'll check the penalty flag.
Cheer for us on the field, so cheer for us beyond it.
Tuta Salam, waiting the word from him, our head referee today. Chris Kleiman going to get a full explanation here, so this all of a sudden starts to look interesting. It was 3rd and goal, 4th and goal.
Running into the kicker, defense. The penalty is declined. The result of the play is a successful field goal.
So no roughing, which would negate the potential for a first down. Kansas State strikes first, 3-0 over West Virginia.
Welcome back to Morgantown, everybody, where Kansas State has taken a 3-point lead and fixing to give the ball to West Virginia for the 2nd time this afternoon.
Alex Sinfield on the return for the Mountaineers. Brought down to the 25 by Brock.
You know, when I arrived at the stadium today, I was told by a lot of people who've been covering West Virginia football for a long time that Neil Brown is doing it the right way. The highest compliment they could pay him was that he is doing it the Don Nalen way. The legendary West Virginia coach who built a program with character, integrity, and most importantly, Nalen was a player's coach. That's exactly what they're seeing now with Neil Brown. The players love this man, and they're going to play hard for him as he builds his program in his 2nd year.
Jared Dagey on the run-pass option, and we talked about this before, that West Virginia wants to establish the run with Liddy Brown, but off of that is their foundational play in the pass game is the run-pass option, and Jared Dagey typically makes really good decisions in that department. Second one is screen pass to Wheaton. That's certainly where West Virginia wants to live, in 2nd and 3rd and short, be really successful on early downs as they have been so far in this drive, and then they'll play with a little bit of pace. Diggy tries to get the ball outside to Ford Wheaton, who has been their most consistent wide receiver this season. The wide receivers as a whole have suffered a case of the dropsies, and they're trying to get over it. That previous play, you see a defender go low on Dagey, and he comes up hobbling, and you see the errant pass to Ford Wheaton. But the receivers have suffered with the drops. They're trying to get over that, and we talked to the West Virginia coaches this week, and basically it's doing extra work after practice and then ignoring it and hoping it goes away. 2nd and 10, Dagey drops back to pass. Dagey has been doing a much better job of being patient. We talked to him earlier this week about the art of the check down, and the coaches feel comfortable that Jared Dagey's in check down mode, which is typically a good thing. A team that wants to establish the run, as long as the quarterback makes good decisions and checks the ball down when nothing's downfield, typically things go well and drives extend.
Brought down by number 25, Echo Boyo. First down, West Virginia.
First down for the West Virginia Mountaineers as they continue this drive. Daggy rolls out, completes a pass on the, they're going to wave it off and say it was incomplete, did not come down. Interesting that Jarrett Daggy, Kelly, is not considered to be a running threat for West Virginia, unlike many quarterbacks in the Big 12 who will tuck it and run. Actually, Neil Brown has discouraged his quarterback from tucking it to run the football, so that's not really a threat for a defense, which sort of becomes an asset for them.
Yeah, and we wait to hear what this flag is on this play, Doc.
Number 32, defense. 10-yard penalty from the previous spot. Automatic first down.
The defensive holding on middle linebacker Justin Hughes. But you're exactly right. Daggy isn't going to run the football in the design quarterback sort of way, but what he has improved on is pocket presence, learning when to get out the pocket in order to keep the throw alive.
One of the big concerns for West Virginia this year was the offensive line. A year ago, they could not run the football. They were 128th out of 130 in total offense as far as rushing the football. Tremendous improvement this year up front running the ball, and they need to be able to run that football today.
Yeah, Doc, I think they averaged just over 70 yards running the football per contest a year ago, which is obviously dreadful.
Second down and 9, Daggy. As that pass falls incomplete. Looking for Ford Wheaton, who was open for his second, and Jarrett Daggy sailed that one out of bounds, Kelly.
And this is money down for Daggy. This is where his decision-making really needs to show up. At 3rd and 9, not running the ball well on that first down play and then airmailing that one. You have to continue to drive the football by making really good plays on this money down right here.
3rd down and 9. TJ Banks will set up as the lead blocker. The inside give, and there goes Brown. First down for West Virginia into the red zone, carrying defenders.
Well, Roy, you talked about it. TJ Banks went across the formation, and at 3rd and 9 in probably 2-down territory, you can run it right down Broadway. It's the slice zone with Banks sealing the backside, the right defensive end, and Duke that time. And then it's Liddy Brown, who you would have a hard time finding a harder, more violent runner in college football right now.
Pickle makes the stop on Brown after a short gain, and his production this year has been tremendous for West Virginia. Neil Brown told us this week, Kelly, we have to run the football. He wasn't pleased after that loss in Lubbock a week ago, and that really is part of the true identity of this new offense.
Yeah, and what he wasn't pleased with is Liddy Brown not being decisive, and he's a one-cut guy, and then the offensive line not doing a great job of getting to the second level.
Daggy keeps it. Here comes the pressure, and he'll live to see another down. 3rd down upcoming. Elijah Sullivan bringing the heat that time.
Doc and I were just talking about that Daggy isn't going to run the football much in a designed quarterback run game, but he's making better decisions, manipulating the pocket, and plays like that, keeping the drive alive at 3rd and 7. Don't take the negative play. Get outside the pocket and throw the ball past the line of scrimmage and throw the ball away.
Daggy with a clean pocket on the slant. That's a first down, and the drive continues for the Mountaineers. Winston Wright, who had a career-high performance a week ago in that loss in Lubbock, off to a good start today as well.
And Wright has been the most consistent wide receiver by far this year. Came into this season, or excuse me, this game.
Number 29, defense. The penalty is declined. The result of the play is a first down.
Kansas State defensive end Khalid Duke trying to jump the snap count and was offsides, but Winston Wright is kind of that X factor. He's factored into the run game on that sweep motion type of offense, and then he's consistent from his slot position as well, catching the football.
The top backs in the country this year off play action, end zone, and incomplete. James was running open about 5 yards deep, and Daggy just missed him.
Yeah, and that was a pop pass really to the inside receiver to the top side, which was James. So you fake the zone run inside, which is the primary focus of Kansas State, and you try to leak that wide receiver behind him, and Daggy knew he should have had him. He got a little bit fine, which I don't mind down in the red zone, but a big-bodied receiver in James had room to catch that football if it was put in his catch radius.
13th play of the drive upcoming for West Virginia. Back at home off a loss towards the end zone and incomplete. Sam James, the intended receiver. Justin Gardner, who had a pick six a week ago, got in the way of that one, Kelly.
The ruling on the field is an incomplete
Gardner is
pass.
a big cover corner. He's a junior college transfer, and you see that up at the top of the screen. As the receiver, James, comes inside, Gardner can match this big group of receivers size-wise, 6'2", 190 pounds, and that length showed up on that play for Gardner.
The result of the play was an incomplete pass. Prior to the pass, holding, number 6, defense. Half the distance to the goal, automatic first down.
When Sam James came inside on that route, Justin Gardner grabbed him just a little bit. I didn't see anything egregious on that coverage, but that certainly is what the officials saw. Gardner got called for the hold.
Joe Klanderman, the new defensive coordinator for Kansas State, told us he is best cover corner they have. That's offsides. Hubert, I believe, jumped.
That hard snap count by Daggy has worked well for West Virginia a couple of times already in this one.
Offside with contact, number 56, defense. Half the distance to the goal, first down.
And the key there, Roy, is with contact. If that wouldn't have been with contact, they let the play run, and Daggy thought he could get the ball on the fade in the corner of the end zone. But with contact, they blow it dead.
4 minutes, 28 seconds.
So 4 Kansas State penalties on this drive for West Virginia. Mountaineers need to take advantage facing first and goal.
And
You got to think the inside
Kansas
give
State
is coming.
Yeah, you think so, that Brown's going to go right down Main Street.
Bryce Ford Wheaton moved early.
False start, number 0, offense, 5-yard penalty, first down.
Getting a little loose in this one as we speak. Kansas State, uncharacteristically, has already been penalized, like you said, Philly, 4 times. And also the turnover. That's not their MO. Kansas State wins by kind of winning in the shadows. They do all the little things right typically, and then have usually a massive group advantage in the special teams department as well.
They call it Special Teams U this year. Letty Brown to the edge, towards the end zone, and stopped just short. Ushered out of bounds near the 2-yard line. Huggins got there as well as Fletcher for the Wildcats after a gain of 4.
Letty Brown's favorite run play is the inside zone, and typically he doesn't bounce around. He bangs it and doesn't really look for a different decision to bounce it outside or bend it to the backside. He bangs it. So if I'm the defense, I want Letty Brown to have to bounce it outside. If number 4 is going horizontally, Kansas State's defense is doing a nice job.
With 5 to play in the first quarter. Letty Brown through the carnage. Stop short again. This time he'll gain a yard. It'll be 3rd down and goal, Kelly, from the 1.
And you wonder when Jared Daggy, even though he doesn't keep it a lot by design, with all of the eyes on Letty Brown, especially down here inside the 1-yard line, you wonder if Daggy might keep it in. He could probably walk into the end zone if he does.
Brown with 9 touchdowns this season, looking for number 10. Stopped behind the line of scrimmage. Wyatt Hubert got there and brought him down for the TFL, and more importantly, it's 4th down.
And you could see that Kansas State is simply selling out to Letty Brown, number 4. There isn't any other thought about it. Watch all of the hats from Kansas State working right down the line, and it's Wyatt Hubert, 56, just sells out. No thought of the quarterback whatsoever.
So a drive spanning over 5 minutes will end in a short field goal attempt from Evan Staley, who missed from 51 earlier in the quarter. He connects here for the chip shot, and we're tied at 3. Defensive battle here in the Big 12 just underway. Ohio State into State College to take on Sean Clifford. Number 18 Penn State. A couple of high-powered offenses, 7:30 Eastern, 4:30 Pacific, Beaver Stadium, ABC, and the ESPN app. See if the Nittany Lions can bounce back after a tough loss at Indiana. I'm still not sure that that was a 2-point try that should have been awarded, but it was. And Kelly, we'll see what happens tonight.
The standard, indisputable video evidence. I don't think it existed to overturn what was called. I think that was the end. I'm with you, though. I thought that ball hit the ground first before the pylon.
Keep an eye on K-State with its special teams. 2 punt returns for a touchdown a week ago. Malik Knowles down the sideline. Outstanding field position and more. Knowles dropped down in positive territory as we check in again with Kevin Connors.
And Roy, this studio update brought to you by Rocket Mortgage. The storyline of the day: Trevor Lawrence out after testing positive for COVID. DJ Uiagalelei, the start, 5-star recruit. The freshman 3 for 3 on the opening drive, including that to Travis Etienne. But David Bailey putting the Eagles back on top. First time Clemson's trailed all year, 14-7 over on ABC. Meantime, Blake Corum, a TD run after Rocky Lombardi put Sparty on top with a touchdown pass. Paul Bunyan Trophy on the line, 7-7 game, Michigan State and Michigan, Roy.
Well, an interesting start in Death Valley. Boston College scores on its first 2 possessions against Clemson. First time that's happened since 2005. As you look at all the top-ranked action on the ESPN networks today, the top 5 teams, Kelly, what grabs your attention looking at that one?
Well, what grabs my attention initially on that Boston College scoring on their first 2 drives is Trevor Lawrence doesn't play defense. So I think that can be a distraction. Brent Venables typically would be the side of the ball that would rise up in a game like that. And I'm looking for Ohio State to keep it going against Penn State this evening.
Well, as we went to that hit from the studio, Evan Staley acquiring assistance. Get off the field. He's off to a great start this season. He's trying to make the tackle, Kelly.
Yeah, Knowles is giving Kansas State good field position again. A plus in the column for Kansas State special teams. And Staley just comes up a little bit gimpy, and it appeared to be that he was holding his left knee.
So after a 46-yard kick return by Malik Knowles, Kansas State in business, plus territory. Quiet start for Deuce Vaughn, number 22. He'll get a touch here. And the jet sweep, boy, bottled up, and that is textbook defense for West Virginia, led by Tyke Smith.
And Adai was the safety coming up as well. What you have to do with Deuce Vaughn, Roy, is you have to bubble him, which simply means you have to make him redirect and continue to take it to the sideline. If he can get to that second level with his quick feet, he is a tough out, a tough tackle to make in open spaces.
Smith doing the job that time, his 6th TFL this season on 2nd down after a loss of 2. This one heaved deep, and it's going to be intercepted, I believe. Sean Mahone, the cat safety for the Mountaineers, comes up with a pick, and what a great play playing center field.
And Mahomes is playing trail coverage. There wasn't a center fielder in the middle of the field. And then Holmes comes over on that post route and makes a play. The ball was trying to go downfield, and it's a middle open read is what they call that for the receiver. And Howard was trying to get it to that post, but wow, does Mahomes actually catch that football? That might be one of the best catches, if indeed it stands, that we've seen all season.
Seth Porter, the intended receiver, and he had his arm right between the 2 arms of Sean Mahone.
Porter was doing his darndest to try to become the defensive back and break that up, but how about the grab by Mahomes?
So Will Howard has thrown 2 picks in this first quarter. A swing pass to Winston Wright, and he's sent down quickly by Khalid Duke, who has been very active in our first 13 minutes.
And if you're keeping score at home, Will Howard had one interception coming into today and essentially what amounted to 2.5 games, 2 starts, and then picked up in the second quarter for Skylar Thompson against Texas Tech, and just is thrown into traffic a couple of times and devalued the football to some extent.
Sinkfield in the backfield, and this time Dagey will be sacked. It's Drew Wiley right there in front of their own end zone for West Virginia, and Kansas State almost got a safety.
And Dagey just simply has to get rid of the football. Wiley is a defensive tackle working inside in what's called a one technique, right off the inside shoulder of the guard, and comes quickly into Dagey's point of view. But there was a receiver out to the right in the flat. Throw it at that receiver's feet and save your offense that negative play.
Sinkfield, no real estate, stacked up at the line. Wiley again. This Kansas State defensive front been flexing so far on the road.
And Wiley now has 4 sacks on the year from his defensive tackle position. Highly productive inside because he's playing inside of Wyatt Hubert, who the defense or the offense wants to know where number 56 Hubert is all the time. And Wiley is just eating constantly from his defensive tackle position.
This is where West Virginia has to be careful. Phillip Brooks had 2 punt returns for touchdowns a week ago against arch rival KU. And he'll get it in Mountaineer territory. Makes a couple of men miss, bottled up at the 36. Outstanding field possession for the Wildcats. We sit it down to Dr. Jerry Punch.
Guys, we mentioned that Kansas State freshman quarterback Will Howard grew up about 4.5 hours from here in Downingtown, Pennsylvania. So this is the closest thing to a home game this young man will play all year long. If you're wondering how a Philly kid ends up playing college football in Manhattan, Kansas, I got 2 words for you. Carson Wentz. See, he grew up a big, huge Philadelphia Eagles fan and a Carson Wentz fan, and he knew Wentz played for Chris Kleiman at North Dakota State, so why not go play for the same guy who developed your hero? That's why he's here.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Makes sense to me.
This Kleiman was quick to answer that question from us. How did you get Will Howard on campus? He said, "Are you kidding me? It's all about Carson Wentz. We coach him up at North Dakota State. Svon picks up 2 yards, and Will Howard was a huge fan." Kelly, that's a bit of an unusual strategy to recruit a player halfway across the country, but it worked.
Yeah, and you would be amazed how many times those recruiting connections really kind of start that way and turn into something like this. And Will Howard could be the quarterback in Manhattan for a long while.
Well, a defensive slugfest. It is 2020. That's what happens in the Big 12, especially on Halloween. We're tied at 3, 15 minutes in Morgantown. "15 minutes in the books back in Morgantown. Kansas State on the move once again. We are tied at 3. On second down, it's play action, and Howard cleans the pass, incomplete, heavy coverage as we check in again with Kevin Connors.
Hi, Roy, over on ESPN. Memphis, Cincinnati Bearcats riding a 16-game home win streak, a school record. This is Desmond Ritter. 14-yard touchdown run to take it in. Bearcats trying to get to 5-0 on the year, a 14-7 lead. Roy, over on ESPN.
Kevin, thank you very much. 3rd down and 8, just underway. Second quarter, Kansas State, as Howard fires a pass down the field looking for Jabastin Taylor, his 4th target. And again, this pass falls incomplete. 4th down upcoming, Kelly.
And that's quintessential West Virginia defensively. When they can funnel you to 3rd in a pass down or even 2nd in a pass down, a lot of times what they do is they have their coverage force you to make low percentage throws like that, where you have to throw the ball downfield in some type of a seam or a fade route. Low percentage throw for college quarterbacks and college receivers.
Blake Lynch on the playing surface, a 52-yard effort, and it is no good. That is in his range. Had a 53-yarder earlier this year against TCU, and that one sails wide right.
I don't know if Dr. Punch told us about the wind there in Morgantown, but kickers and punters seem to be having issues. I didn't think it was very windy, but the kickers have struggled certainly getting the ball through the goalposts, and punting hasn't been fantastic up to this point yet either.
Now, this season, for every field goal and extra point made by participating universities, Allstate will make a contribution to the university's general scholarship fund. Thank you once again, Allstate. So a couple of missed field goals, some early turnovers, and the anti-Big 12 contest is broken out in the Big 12. It's all defense so far, and big plays coming for both sides on third down. Letty Brown gains 4, stopped by Huggins.
And we talked about that coming into this game. It might be the first one to somewhere in the high 20s to win this game, and we might have to ratchet that number down a little bit, but that's who these two teams are. And if you throw maybe a third team like Iowa State into the mix, those teams play defense. They force offenses to prove it. They force play callers in the Big 12 and quarterbacks in the Big 12 to be patient in order to get points.
Brown pinballs off one defender, brought down behind the line. Daniel Green with a stop as we check in with Dr. Jerry Punch.
Guys, you mentioned that Evan Staley, the West Virginia kicker, had gone down on the previous play trying to make a tackle. He has now been evaluated on the sidelines and taken to the locker room. And what that means is that the backup Casey Legg is now warming up on the Mountaineers sideline. So again, the primary kicker, Evan Staley, out. Casey Legg, the backup, will be kicking apparently for the foreseeable future.
You got to love a place kicker with the last name Legg. As Staley grasped that left knee after attempting the tackle of Malik Knowles.
And he didn't get much of Knowles. It was more of a non-contact type of injury, but if you're going to be a kicker, your last name might as well be Legg. Legg has one PA attempt and has kicked the ball off and has some touchback, so he has a strong leg. There isn't probably any question about that.
Jerron McPherson helped off the field as Legg continues to warm up. Third down and 9 now for West Virginia. And Kansas State showing pressure. Well, it's been that kind of year when you have this kind of defense played in this league that's known for its offense. These two teams trying to rebrand themselves under a pair of second-year head coaches. Dagey in the pocket has a big gator. Bryce Ford Wheaton into plus territory, stays alive, tiptoes down the sideline. It'll be first down and goal for the Mountaineers on the quick pitch and catch.
Well, Roy, you talked about it. When Kansas State can funnel you to third and a pass down, they will a lot of times show pressure and or bring pressure, but Ford Wheaton is going to work into that next window. You can see the man-to-man coverage everywhere, and if that pressure doesn't get home on Dagey, this is what can happen against Kansas State on the back end.
The first big play for the Mountaineers. Inside give, and Brown to the 5. He was stopped by Wiley and Huggins. It'll bring up second and goal.
And Roy, that much maligned wide receiver group for West Virginia, they had 90% of their catches returning from a year ago, and then got a contagious case of the dropsies as the season began. Lead college football in that category, and that's not a good thing.
Play action, second and goal. Third down coming up. Heavy pressure again for the Wildcats, and that was Eli Huggins. So after the 58-yard gain by Ford Wheaton, West Virginia quickly facing third and goal. Kelly, what do you like?
I'd like to get Dagey outside to be a run threat, even though he isn't typically, and then also get the tight ends involved down here as well. They a lot of times set the edge, but get them involved in the pass game.
Third and goal, clean pocket, back in the end zone for the touchdown. Ali Jennings has it, and that'll be his first touchdown of the season for number 19.
A really good two-layered route. A lot of times defenses in coverage in the end zone will build kind of a picket fence, so you have to separate that coverage to some extent. There's going to be man-to-man at times, and then there's going to be zone, and then At this time, Jennings works to the back of the end zone as that initial receiver comes and draws that coverage up underneath, and then Jennings gets over the top.
So the big play in that drive to Ford Wheaton. It went for 58 yards. The drive covered only 66. More importantly, the first touchdown of the game on the board for the home team, the Mountaineers. Jennings wide open, a nice toss from Jared Dagey. Kansas State Wildcats ranked 16th in the land coming into this one, but the home team ready to rock. Milan Puskar Stadium. Jennings' first touchdown grab of the season a few moments ago for the sophomore out of Richmond, Virginia. Kelly Stauffer, Dr. Jerry Punch, Roy Philpott, great to have you with us. As Jones is upended in a crazy day in Death Valley, South Carolina, as we check in with Kevin Connors.
Indeed, Roy, your AT&T studio update brought to you by AT&T 5G. Huge development in Death Valley. Clemson down 14-7. Problem on the exchange between DJ Uiagalelei and Travis Etienne. Brandon Sebastian picks it up and brings it back 97 yards. 21-7. The Eagles leading this game over on ABC.
KC, thank you very much. And West Virginia fans watching highlights of that game will be reminded of the Orange Bowl some 8 years ago in a similar play. Mountaineers went on to score 70 points in that one. So we'll see what happens in Clemson without Trevor Lawrence as Mesidor records a tackle on Deuce Vaughn. Kelly, that's a shocker right now in South Carolina.
Oh, no question. And it's interesting, if you take the driver of the car out of the equation in Trevor Lawrence, there are so many things in the game that end up being affected holistically on your team that he has nothing to do with. Ball security and those type of things. The defense didn't play well early. It's amazing how that works if you take the captain out of the equation.
K-State trailing. There's Taylor, his second reception. That one good enough for a first down after a gain of 8. We'll
you know, a
the
lack of
flag.
rhythm. If we see a penalty flag coming in, just a lack of rhythm out of both offenses, and it has a large part to do with the fact that these defenses are legitimately good.
On the pass, number 50, offense, 5-yard penalty, second down.
That's Cooper Beebe.
Right tackle Cooper Beebe, and it's the run-pass variety that typically have those offensive linemen illegally downfield. You can get 3 yards, but they're blocking the run game. So if they have to go pursue a second-level defender thinking that it might be a run, sometimes when it's passed, they end up past that 3-yard barrier.
So instead of a first down, it's 2nd and 10. Howard with a clean pocket. Fires it out to Vaughn, and he's bottled up by Sean Mahone. Already has an interception in our first quarter, and now a big tackle for loss for number 29.
And Roy, just take note of how small the windows are. West Virginia is so active. They have eyes on the ball, and they break and they make secure tackles so often. They're multiple on the back end. They do a lot of things, a lot of bells and whistles and misdirection. They'll play zone and they'll play man, but they tackle extremely well.
3rd and 14. Dangerous throw for Howard. Taylor not able to corral it, and that'll bring up 4th down. Trayshawn Miller in coverage. And he's been blanketing these Kansas State receivers in this first half.
You just take a look at this from behind the quarterback. This is what you see. All kinds of clutter on the back end, and that ball had to go over top of a second-level defender, and then it was high to the receiver, and then Miller breaks on the ball. That's who West Virginia is defensively.
Ty Zentner will send it to Sinkfield, calls for the fair catch, and West Virginia will have it at their own 49-yard line when we come back. Oh, don't forget, Sunday NFL Countdown headed your way. It's tomorrow, of course, Tom Brady, Randy Moss go one-on-one in a sit-down conversation, plus the first start for Tua Tagovailoa for the Miami Dolphins, another talented southpawer. Kick off your Week 8. Sunday NFL Countdown, then Monday night, Week 8 rolls along. Tom Brady and the NFC South leading Buccaneers line up against Daniel Jones and the Giants from MetLife Stadium, 8 Eastern, 5 Pacific, ESPN Deportes, and also on the ESPN app. So we're back to live action here in Morgantown, West Virginia. Kelly Stafford, Dr. Jerry Punch, and Roy Philpott. Drew Wiley makes another tackle for Kansas State after the short game.
Drew Wiley has been amazingly active, and that isn't anything new. He's done that all season so far.
And he actually lost 2 on that play. Dagey with time, surveys, fires. Pass is going to be caught. T.J. Simmons has it all the way down to the 21-yard line. The Alabama transfer, and a nice dime dropped in by Jarrett Dagey, Kelly.
Yeah, and the play action, and T.J. Simmons is going to come all the way across the formation on what's called a deep over route. You can see him running right there. Safety in the middle of the field, and then Dagey finds the right guy.
Letty Brown, as West Virginia goes tempo after a gain of 32. He'll pick up 4 more yards. So Brown's starting to get lathered up. He's now right at 42 yards in this first half. And they're going to stay patient with number 4 for West Virginia, Kelly.
Yeah, and as we have a timeout on the field for an injured player, you're exactly right. It's that foundation of a run game, and Letty Brown is the workhorse that Neil Brown wants in his offense. They didn't have it last year until the end of the year when Brown emerged as that workhorse type of guy, but he has hit the ground running in 2020.
Chase Barrett helped off the field, the 5th-year senior starting center. Really has emerged as a leader for head coach Neil Brown this season. Under 10 to play in our first half. That is a big development.
Barrett is that veteran up front, and there you have 2 new tackles in Yates and Hughes, and they were really good down the middle. Frazier, the true freshman, emerged as a road grader on the left guard, but Barrett is the captain of that ship up front.
3rd trip into the red zone for the Mountaineers. This one heaved towards the pylon, and it's incomplete. Simmons, the intended receiver.
And Simmons, a stutter go outside, kind of setting the defender and then getting vertical once again. And Dagey just airmails it a little bit. And this has been a theme this year. There have been a lot of close calls by Dagey throwing balls vertically. And that's the part of the offense, quite frankly, Roy, that's missing, is the explosive plays consistently downfield, with Letty Brown being the pounder up inside in that violent run game, but that explosive pass game needs to show up.
Mountaineers 5 of 8 on 3rd down, a big one here. Driving again against Kansas State, out in the flats, that'll move the chains. Reese Smith grabs it, and the drive continues for the Mountaineers.
And Smith was matched up on the safety Elders, and a good job of coming to the secondary receiver. You don't always have to throw the ball where it advances past the line to game on the catch. You can give yourself a little bit more room if you throw an accurate pass to a receiver underneath and let him get yards after the catch. There's nothing wrong with that.
Brown will flank Dagey. 1st down and goal. Trying to pound the rock again. To the edge this time, Letty. Brown to the pylon. Did he get there? He did for the touchdown.
Well, don't kid yourself. Letty Brown can bounce it. He likes to bang it. When you run an inside zone, it's bang it up inside, it's bend it to the backside, or in this case, it's bounce it to the outside, the 3 Bs. And Brown can do this once in a while. He presses the line of scrimmage on his favorite play, the inside zone, and then bounces it outside. Does that left foot go out of bounds at about the 2-yard line before Letty Brown extends and gets into the end zone? I'm not sure that right toe actually comes down out of bounds.
Well, the chalk dusts up right as Justin Gardner's face mask hit it. And I don't think there's enough there to overturn the call on the field of a Letty Brown touchdown, which would be the 10th of the season for number 4 for the Mountaineers.
Yeah, it's the angle behind where I think you see a little bit of daylight. And remember, the standard is always indisputable video evidence beyond a doubt. And if we're discussing it, typically at home, it means that the replay booth also has a doubt, and they will typically let it stand as called on the field.
So Brown over 50 yards on the ground, his 17th career touchdown. And the workhorse has really been phenomenal.
The touchdown is under further review.
So Jack McDonald's going to take an extended look at it, Kelly, and I think both of us reached the conclusion independently. I don't think there's enough there to change the call.
Yeah, I'm not so sure there is anyway. And the look we had on the sideline, it's the one from behind that I think you can see a little bit of daylight between Letty Brown's right foot, his toe, and the out of bounds white part. I just don't think there's enough there to overturn it.
You see it for that split second.
That is a fantastic shot, and I estimate there's about 1/8 of an inch of daylight right there, and this is going to be a touchdown.
Down to Dr. Jerry Punch.
You know, in the Big 12, they have collaborative replay like they do in the SEC and the ACC. So the referee today was telling me that they have a replay official here in the stadium in the booth, but if it's really close like this call here, they will go to what they call the ROC, the Replay Official Center in Dallas, Texas, which is where the Big 12 collaborative replay will look over and over again to help make that call, which is exactly what they're doing right now.
The ROC. I think we ought to make Dr. Jerry Punch part of the ROC. He seems like he belongs in that brain trust called the ROC, but I think this is a touchdown.
Well, in this sequence, very important. Remember, West Virginia was stymied deep in Kansas State territory back in the first quarter, facing 3rd and goal, and a sack as Wyatt Hubert applied the pressure and Khalid Duke. So Kansas State has had success in short yardage situations today against the Mountaineers offense, and WVU would be perfectly happy to allow this touchdown to stand.
You know, I think this is setting up as a tailor-made way to play a game for head coach Neil Brown for West Virginia. Their defense is playing lights out. Kansas State really can't get any rhythm going offensively, and then it's a combination of pass game, run game out of Neil Brown's offense.
Well, now more than 3 minutes into this review.
After review, the ruling on the field of a touchdown stands.
And the right call ultimately made there, even though Chris Kleiman doesn't like it. Back-to-back possessions ending in scores of the touchdown variety for the Mountaineers. And a new kicker on for the PAT is Casey Legg. So with Evan Staley out with what appeared to be a lower body injury, Legg will pound that one through, and our new score is 17-3. Letty Brown reaches pay dirt, his 10th score of the season. Almost halfway through our second quarter, and Neil Brown in business on this Saturday. The afternoon of the Big 12, and Letty Brown rising up the ranks, his 10th touchdown of the season, 3rd in the country, tied with Clemson's Travis Etienne. The Tigers right now in trouble at home against Boston College, as Legg sends the kickoff down to the 24, and we'll check in again with Kevin Connors.
And Roy, coming up on the Nissan halftime report, much more on the stunner in Death Valley right now. Jim Moore is going to join us, tell us why the Tigers are struggling so much. Plus, a treat for Sparty in the Big House against Michigan, and we'll set the table for the big one in primetime on ABC in the Big Ten tonight. All coming up when you join us on the Nissan halftime report. Roy?
The kickoff was blown dead because player number 55 gave a fair catch signal.
Buckeyes at Nittany Lions tonight, 7:30 ABC. James Franklin, Ryan Day, Josh Fields, Sean Clifford, a couple of dual threat quarterbacks. Going to be a lot of fun. And right now, Kelly, Kansas State in search of its offensive mojo with a freshman quarterback, Will Howard, and a freshman tailback in Deuce Vaughn. What needs to change on this possession?
Well, West Virginia has really been successful defensively at making Kansas State one-handed, forcing the pass and taking away Vaughn almost entirely today.
Stutter step and a gain of 1 on first down for Deuce Vaughn. Jared Bartlett got there first to greet him at the line.
So, Roy, good defenses have the ability to do that. They force you to be one-dimensional. And Deuce Vaughn is such an important centerpiece of this Kansas State offense. He runs it well. He is a tremendous catcher of the football. And right now, he's been taken out of the mix. And so Will Howard has to make some plays in the pass game.
He'll try that here with Vaughn on the swing pass. Belted down at the 29. It was Bartlett and Trayshawn Miller to bring up third down for K-State. That's a gain of 5.
And I think that's what Kansas State has to do a better job of not letting the defense take away Deuce Vaughn altogether. Get him out in the pass game. He's averaging 28 yards a catch coming into today. He's a tremendous, really natural catcher of the football. So use him in the pass game and give another weapon to the freshman quarterback to use in this one.
On third down, the dump off is there. The drive continues. Phillip Brooks the grab. Mahone brought him down, but not before he was able to reach the line to gain.
Defensively, West Virginia a lot of times wants to control the line of scrimmage with their 3-down guys. Typically, it's the Steele brothers, Dante and Darius, and then throw in Pooler as well as the other defensive end. Those 3 guys are charged with kind of being in control of all 5 offensive linemen, and then it's a bunch of shenanigans on the back end.
Vaughn to the edge. Can he get there? The answer is no, and we check in again with Dr. Jerry Punch.
Guys, you talk about Will Howard. Now consider this, folks. He just turned 19 a couple of weeks ago, and less than a year ago, in fact, November 15, 2019, he was quarterbacking the Downingtown West Whippets in the Division I 6A District Championship game against arch rival Coatesville. On that day, he threw for over 305 yards, and they won the district title. But folks, a year ago, he's playing high school football. Today, against one of the top defenses in the country on national television.
And not to mention, in the middle of a pandemic, as Harry Trotter goes through the A-gap, stopped by Fields. Kelly.
Well, one of the things we heard about Will Howard, which I don't think people really can wrap their mind around, is he played in an offense, and a lot of high schools do this, where it's nonverbal. It's almost all hand signals, and they rarely huddle. And you can see now he's in the huddle, Will Howard is, and it's a heavy verbal offense. You have to call an extensive play, know what you're supposed to do, and then go execute it. That has been a big adjustment, but Will Howard has handled it extremely well.
On third down, plenty of time. Fires a shot, incomplete, and overshot his intended target. That was Landry Weber. So fourth down for K-State, and this West Virginia defense starting to flex a little bit in the first half.
And the good defense of West Virginia has just made Howard a little bit unsettled. That was not a very good throw. You can see once again going over top of the underneath defender, and you tried to finesse it in there if you're the quarterback, and it just sailed on Will Howard.
That was actually Seth Porter, the intended receiver. And the punt is going to be fumbled at the 31. I believe the Mountaineers jumped back on top of it, and they did. Punt of 33 yards. Alex Sinkfield makes the recovery after muffing. West Virginia will take it over right after this. Now the Mountaineers offense starting to heat up on a chilly day in Morgantown. A 2-touchdown advantage against Kansas State. And the offensive play calling this year shared by Jared Parker and head coach Neil Brown. It's an interesting dynamic. You see him right behind the post there. Milan Pushkar Stadium. Jared Parker is going to take over the majority of the play calls, Kelly, as West Virginia gets into the red zone, while Neil Brown does the majority of the calls between the 20s. And these two developed a relationship going back to their days as players, initially at the University of Kentucky. But they became much closer since both entered the coaching ranks, and so far the offense has really improved this season as a result. Mike O'Loughlin's going to pick up a first down. But the dynamic between the two is not something you see across college football all that often.
No, it's quite unique. And the other thing that Jared Parker does is he will do the kind of on the sideline administration, preparing his offense for the next drive. And as the offense gets into the red zone, you're right, he's a lot of times has time to think it over and takes over the play calling when the offense gets down there.
Big play for Sinkfield, off to the races, and there he goes. Sinkfield dragged down at the 15-yard line. Another big play for the Mountaineers offense. This time it happens on the ground with the redshirt junior, Alex Sinkfield.
And we haven't talked a lot about Sinkfield, but he's the change-up to Liddy Brown. He's more of a slasher, and there's a definite contrast to his running style. Not necessarily to play calling when Sinkfield is in versus Brown, but definitely the running style is different. There's a different group of angles when number 20 Sinkfield is in the game versus Brown. Brown is going to look to hit you in the mouth, and Sinkfield is going to slash away from you.
Sinkfield had been held in check the last couple of weeks. After a gain of 36, he'll pick up a yard, maybe two more there. But his last 21 carries, Kelly, had gone for just 31 yards before that burst moments ago.
And the other thing that we will see out of Sinkfield is he's a diverse route runner in the pass game. Liddy Brown a lot of times is more of a check down type of back when he's in there and can catch it well. But Sinkfield is more of a diverse route runner and certainly is an asset in the West Virginia Mountaineers pass game.
Winston Wright in motion. Daggy will look his direction. Wright for the first down towards the pylon. And West Virginia striking yet again. That's another touchdown. 6 more on the board. The second score of the season for Winston Wright.
Roy, this is such good stuff out of Jared Daggy. Wright was actually the #1 receiver initially on that return jet motion. Start one way, return and go back the other way. Ends up on a swing route. And watch the quarterback. The quarterback will look out there. We won't see it on this, but we'll get another look at it. But initially, the swing route was the #1 option. It wasn't there. Daggy looks downfield, and then off of platform, when your feet aren't right, he throws it out to Winston Wright, that is a wide receiver slash running back a lot of times in route running out of the backfield, and then can do this with it, yards after the catch when he gets the ball in his hands. Does he stay in bounds? And I think he absolutely stays in bounds.
You mentioned yards after the catch. Winston Wright leads the Big 12 in that category, and there's something magical about this end of Mountaineer Field. There's some force field that's keeping Liddy Brown and Winston Wright from touching out of bounds so far this afternoon. So the touchdown stands. Casey Legg on for the point after. 3 straight scoring drives for the Mountaineers, all reaching pay dirt.
Watch Jared Daggy kind of survey the field. He's going to know that he can get the ball to Wright out to his right on the swing pass. Looks downfield, steps up in the pocket, off of platform, and then off of balance, gets the ball out accurately to Wright, who can then get yards after the catch and ultimately gets in the end zone. That's the very place that Daggy has gotten so much better. He's learning to trust the pocket. And as Parker explained that to us, the offensive coordinator, it's not only trusting your protection and the timing of the route, which in this case was the swing to Wright, but it's also the landmark. As a quarterback, where are you supposed to be in the pocket? All of those things came together, and Daggy threw a dime out to Wright, who worked for it and got into the end zone.
All smiles on the Mountaineers sideline, and why not? They've erupted for 24 points in this first half. And a 3-touchdown advantage against Kansas State, and this is not what Chris Kleiman envisioned for this road trip to Morgantown. Malik Knowles brings it back, and Kansas State will take over there. And now Jared Daggy, 26 consecutive games with a touchdown toss. Talked to him yesterday for a long period of time, Kelly, and I asked him if you had one word to describe yourself, what would it be, especially this season? Thought about it for a second. He said, I'm a competitor. And that's what my dad told me, dropping me off for practice all those years. He's a longtime high school coach in the Lone Star State. His brother, of course, Seth, played at Texas Tech. I'm a competitor. And his dad told him growing up, compete. That's what you have to do. And I tell you what, he's doing it at a high level today. 24 unanswered on the board for WVU. And the mental mistake starting to mount up for Kansas State. Taylor dropped that one.
We've talked about it multiple times, Roy. West Virginia defensively is going to force the quarterback, Will Howard, and play caller to be patient. And that was simply a hitch route outside to Taylor. Taylor takes his eyes off the ball, puts it on the ground, and it's 2nd and 10. If you're second in a pass down against West Virginia, they're going to light you up. It's amplified if you're starting a freshman quarterback.
Howard off of play action. Briley Moore, second reception, plunges ahead, close to first down yardage. It'll bring up 3rd down and short.
And that's another guy, Roy, that we haven't heard a lot from, is Briley Moore stays down after taking an awkward hit on that play, but we haven't heard a lot of Briley Moore yet on this afternoon. Moore is more than just a check down guy, and you can see the bodies flying in late, and I think it's the helmet in the small of the back by Tony Fields, the linebacker, hustling from the inside out. And watch Fields put his face mask right in the rib cage, right there, of Moore, and Moore took the brunt of that collision.
We had a medical red shirt a year ago before transferring in to Kansas State from Northern Iowa. He did have that one reception earlier in the first quarter, but clearly working on that left side, and nothing about those collisions looked good for Briley Moore.
And Briley Moore, you talked about it, transferred from Northern Iowa and was familiar with Chris Kleiman. Played against North Dakota State 3 times and was 0 for 3, and then had a chance to transfer in and actually play for that head coach and jumped at the opportunity. I do believe it's a kind of a match made in heaven with that. Briley Moore is a move tight end that right now is the best receiving option that this Kansas State offense has.
Yeah, Briley told us yesterday his dream school growing up was Oklahoma, and it felt so sweet to go into Norman a couple of weeks back and pull off that upset against his favorite team growing up. He has been a physical force as a run blocker and dynamic as a pass catcher. So we're going to help him up very carefully here.
And Roy, Moore is kind of that new breed of tight end that does a lot of things on the move, takes pride in setting the edge and springing the running back for a long gain. But then he's also a big body, 6'4", 250, that can get out in space and become a matchup problem defensively, although we haven't seen it a lot today, and it's a good sign that we see Briley Moore up on his own accord right now.
Well, a busy afternoon of college football as we take a look at our PlayStation college football rankings, and right now Clemson trailing Boston College at home by 17. And it hasn't been so much the loss of Trevor Lawrence. The BC offense has been aggressive in Death Valley. Meanwhile, Cincinnati leading Memphis, and Georgia out in front of Kentucky on the road in Lexington. Big play for the Wildcats, 3rd and short. Deuce Vaughn has it and bottled up after about a 5-yard gain. Initial contact by Tony Fields. So Kansas State, Kelly, needs some points on this possession right before halftime, obviously.
Yeah, and I would even say they need a touchdown on this possession. They have their timeouts left, 3 minutes. You know, short time situation, and it's just drive the football, use all of that clock if you need to. But this is, I think, vitally important that Chris Kleiman in this offense gets this ball into the end zone.
Trailing by 21. Team's really not built for massive comebacks, but they did it at Oklahoma earlier this year. So we check in again with Kevin Connors.
Well, Roy, you guys were just talking about it. Boston College has not beaten the #1 since Notre Dame in 1993, but they are up by 18 on the road right now on #1. What a catch by C.J. Lewis from Phil Jerkovich. 28-10 BC over on ABC.
That's why we love college football. Expect the unexpected, and especially this year. after DJ Render picked up 7. Second down upcoming for the Wildcats. Howard surveys, and that'll keep the drive going on the quick toss. There's a grab. It's made for a first down by Sammy Wheeler.
And Roy, right now you can see West Virginia defensively is playing a zone, forcing the receivers to sit down in those voids, forcing Will Howard, the freshman quarterback, to be efficient. And then it's hustle to the football, tackle well, and force Kansas State to do it all over again offensively.
6th play of the drive upcoming. Kansas State now in plus territory. And Howard sets his feet, passes incomplete. Sean Mahone with a blanket coverage. I believe Phillip Brooks, the intended target.
And West Virginia will move back and forth between kind of a matchup coverage, which turns into man-to-man once the coverage defines the route running of the receivers, but also a lot of zone. And right now I think West Virginia is seeing that Kansas State doesn't really have a lot of momentum and or rhythm offensively, and so force this offense for the Wildcats to make a lot of plays in order to go down and get points, if indeed they get points.
Only 107 total yards for number 16 Kansas State so far, as Howard spots Taylor, and he's ushered out after a short gain. It'll bring up 3rd down.
West Virginia defensively, they just make you earn everything. You can see the fewest yards allowed in the FBS this season. But everything seems to be a chore against this offense. And a lot of times it's not only they're not giving up a lot of yards, but those yards are really, really difficult to convert into points against this West Virginia defense.
Wildcats call a timeout, 2 remaining. $1:26 left in our first half on really a must-score possession for the undefeated Kansas State Wildcats, at least in Big 12 play.
Yeah. And they had that hiccup to start the year against Arkansas State, and there were a lot of reasons for that. Chris Kleiman explained that to us, and COVID-related issues and the fact that they didn't have leadership really well defined. And you can see, though, they got off the schneid and have been playing really well in conference coming into today.
Road wins at Oklahoma and TCU with Skylar Thompson going down. No easy effort, but yet here they are at 4-0 in the league and in control of their own destiny. Massive game next week against Oklahoma State looming, but they've got work to do here today first, and plenty of it. 3-man front for the Mountaineers on 3rd down. Across the middle, Howard has Wheeler, and he's chopped down right at the line to gain by Fields. I think that should be enough to move the sticks, and it is. So after a gain of 8 tempo, and now they'll just spike the ball, try to stop the clock and save a couple of timeouts in the process.
And a good job so far by this entire Kansas State offense, using the clock wisely. And as you're getting down to that 1-minute mark is where you begin for the first time to consider how you will use your timeouts. You can clock it on that last play, and then from this point forward, you probably will see Kansas State use those timeouts. Vaughn split out wide in that empty set.
On 2nd and 10, all afternoon for Howard. He flings it deep, has a man. Kansas State has a touchdown. Malik Knowles, his first score of the season, and what a response for the freshman quarterback on the road.
And inexplicably, Knowles gets behind a fairly soft coverage on the back end for West Virginia. Just obviously a break in coverage. Knowles is split out wide, goes to the post, and the defender thought initially that Knowles was going to set down and come back for the football, but he kind of gives a head shake, gets vertical to the post. No free safety home. Big play, Kansas State.
73 yards in 10 plays. That scoring strike to Malik Knowles from 35 yards out. And Wildcats right back in this one, Kelly.
And Howard does a nice job of discerning the coverage. It's a middle of the field open read, And as a quarterback, it's important because if I have a route that's going to the middle of the field in the variety of a post, which Howard did by Knowles right there, then that's the indicator. If it's middle of the field open, my post is in play. Howard does a good job of diagnosing that and then throwing the right ball to Knowles, and that was woefully played defensively for West Virginia. The defender started to set down and allowed Knowles to get vertical for his quarterback, the true freshman Will Howard.
Longest play of the game for the Wildcats. And you wonder if that will be the boost and confidence needed for a first-year player like Will Howard. Kansas State rallied from 21 down against Oklahoma last month. They'll try to do it on the road yet again here today. All right, Mountaineers have it. 1:05 left. They've got all 3 timeouts to work with. You got to imagine that Neil Brown and Jared Parker are going to be fairly aggressive here, Kelly.
I think you're right. I think for that reason, you have 3 timeouts closing in on a minute. So typically what you want to do is start the drive. And if you have production early, then it dictates the tempo that you're going to use the rest of this drive. But with 3 timeouts, everything is in play as far as the playbook is concerned. And it's kind of how this drive starts that is important.
Jared Dagey back on the field. Inside give. Letty Brown plows over one K-State defender. That was Daniel Green, who was hanging on for dear life. And here comes tempo for the Ears.
And I thought with 3 timeouts, you would burn one of those timeouts right there.
Instead, it's Brown again with a crease and a first down. Twisting and turning his way towards midfield. Well, K-State tried to rip the ball loose. Gardner with the initial hit. And instead, West Virginia's going to move the chains. They may use a timeout now.
This is a 30-second timeout.
I think that's a good use of the timeout, and it's just a soft look defensively, because certainly K-State was believing that West Virginia was going to throw the football at this point in time with 49 seconds on the clock to begin that play. But West Virginia decides to run into that soft look with Letty Brown, and it was a pretty good decision.
Entertaining first half nearly in the books on a very busy day of college football. The top 5 teams in the land all playing on ESPN networks today, including top-ranked Clemson struggling at home against Boston College. And you just wonder over on ABC if the Tigers were looking ahead to Notre Dame next week. And they'll have more coming up on the halftime report with everything happening in Tiger Town. But here in Morgantown, Neil Brown, Chris Kleiman, a pair of second-year head coaches. The chess match continues.
And the thing that we haven't seen yet is special teams show up in a big way for Kansas State, and also an opportunistic defense to take the ball away for Kansas State.
Both defenses in that category. Brown bottled up at the line, no gain. And the Mountaineers going to have to use another timeout.
West Virginia,
kind of a repeating of the way this drive started, starting with somewhat of a delay or a draw to Letty Brown. Try to get him to gash it right down between the hashes and start the drive once again.
So they'll talk things over with head coach Neil Brown on the sideline. You mentioned the top 5 teams in action today on ESPN networks. Lead is 15 for BC on the road at halftime. That game over on ABC. You got the big one tonight in Happy Valley, Penn State and Ohio State. Notre Dame, Georgia also on the ledger.
The thing about that Ohio State-Penn State game that's going to be intriguing is typically the home field advantage is enormous in that matchup. But that's going to be a fairly quiet house that Ohio State goes on the road. It's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. What we've seen in our experience is you see Justin Fields' numbers are just off the hook. You wonder how he can get better, and the way he started the season against Nebraska, you saw him hit a completely different gear. But how not only the home team handles it without the energy that their crowd brings, that's going to be the interesting thing to see for me.
That's been a story across college football. The home field advantage not as dominant as what we've seen in previous years with less fans. Backside pressure, Dagey escapes, and he'll turn that into a positive gain right at midfield. And West Virginia going to have to utilize another timeout, and this one will be his last.
Virginia takes their third and
Wyatt
final
Hubert
charge
almost
timeout
had a
of the
big
half.
play because he's going to come off the edge and he's just going to run the rail around the left tackle and then get to the quarterback. And actually it was double teamed and Hubert comes back up inside. But Dagey was very fortunate that he felt that right at the very end because that ball was exposed to some extent. And Hubert certainly knew where it was, and he could have slapped that football away.
Wyatt Hubert, one of the more impressive defensive ends, not only in the Big 12, but nationally. He's a leader for head coach Chris Kleiman and Joe Klanderman, the defensive play caller. We spent some time with him back on Thursday, and he's very intense, let's say, and really has the personality that fits very well in the Little Apple.
Yeah, and he's an NFL guy. He's kind of prototypical NFL defensive end. 6'3", 270. He has a quick first step off the line of scrimmage, can run the rail as we saw him on that last play to get to the quarterback, and very productive. And he only has 1 sack coming into this game. That's because of the attention he gets, and it creates productivity across the board with Wiley, Huggins, and Duke as well on that compadres on that defensive front.
Their backups have also been impressive. Bronson Massey, Kamari Gaines. See if the speed package is on the field on 3rd down. Mountaineers need 9. They'll set up the screen. Sam James is going to be stopped short. Clock will continue to run as he's brought down inbounds. 4th down for the Mountaineers, and let's see what they do.
I think if you wanted to do anything, Roy, is you let the clock run down and then you just leave yourself time to launch it into the end zone as the last play of this first half, but not even going to elect to do that.
Cody Fletcher stopped them inbounds. West Virginia set to receive our second half kick. Entertaining 30 minutes in the books. The Mountaineers with nearly 300 yards of total offense. Jared Dagey is thrown for 2 scores. And Letty Brown doing Letty Brown things. 24-10 our score. Halftime report coming up right after this. Back in Morgantown, West Virginia, you're watching the Big 12 on ESPN. A Chamber of Commerce Saturday afternoon. Temperatures climbing into the 50s. Happy Halloween. Final day of October in West Virginia, holding serve at home against number 16 Kansas State so far. Mountaineers set to receive our second half kick, and the touchback, they'll get it at the 25-yard line. Good start for Jared Dagey as we welcome you back here to Morgantown, West Virginia. Kelly Stoffer, Roy Philpott, West Virginia. Kelly Stoffer, Roy Philpott, and Dr. Jerry Punch on hand. And Kelly, that West Virginia offense really exploding in that second quarter.
Making some really good decisions. He's been incredibly decisive, and I think that's going to be the order of the day in this second half. And you wonder with Kansas State offensively if that last drive of the first half where they really equaled their yardage for the previous 6 drives, if that was vital considering that West Virginia gets the ball to start this second half.
Trailing by 2 scores, Wildcats would like a 3-and-out to start. Letty Brown has other intentions as he picks up 4 on first down.
And
Ron McPherson with a tackle.
That's exactly what you would expect to see, is West Virginia going back to Letty Brown in the establishment of that physical run game, and then Dagey off of that, making good decisions in the pass game.
Brown about 4.5 yards per touch so far. Winston Wright in motion. They scored on this play in the first half. Wright makes a couple of defenders miss. And a gain of 9 yards as we check in again with Dr. Jerry Punch.
talked with Neil Brown coming out at halftime. I think what he told me is what he told his team, that don't get too confident, because this football team, Kansas State, they were down by at least 14 points twice this year, once at Oklahoma, and came back and won both football games. So we still got a heck of a battle on our hands here in the second half.
Yeah, Jerry, that was a 21-point comeback in the second half in Norman, for those that have forgotten. And our friends in Manhattan surely haven't. Letty Brown, a stutter step and a gain of 1. On first down, the tackle by Justin Hughes.
Yeah, Roy, that comeback win against Oklahoma, 565 times the top 5 team in the country have been down by 21 points and lost. So Kansas State, obviously it was a yeoman's effort to come back in that circumstance, and that's what this team is. It's character, and they never give up.
Brown will get it out of the backfield on 2nd and 9. He'll have another first down and a leap and a jump into plus territory.
Letty Brown as his receiver I think is highly underrated, because you watch the effort that he runs with, and a violent runner, finishes runs about as good as anyone in college football, but he's a natural catcher of the football as well. A lot of times in that pass game, it's kind of the check down variety, as it is here, as Daggy makes a really good decisions, gets it out to Brown late, and then Brown pays it off.
21 catches, to your point, on the season after that last grab for Letty Brown. And I think replay will confirm a first down as he leapfrogged out of bounds after passing the line to gain. And we'll take another look at it. A busy day for our replay booth, and as Dr. Punch informed us, it is collaborative with the Big 12 on those extended reviews.
Brown is really athletic, 5'11", 214. He's a physical downhill runner, which is the cornerstone of Neil Brown's offense. But then Neil Brown's offenses, they've always had running backs that had to factor big time into the pass game, and Brown holds up that end of it as well.
And here, Tuta Salam, head official today, confirming the call. So 2 minutes into our second half, West Virginia quickly on the move, and this has been a common theme after exploding for 24 in the first 30 minutes. So Brown picks up 10. Ball spotted right at midfield. Screen pass again, his 3rd reception. And stopped after a 5-yard pickup. Daniel Green got there first.
And those are designed passes. It's essentially a screen, but they're going to, the ball's thrown behind the line of scrimmage, and so those receivers can already get engaged. And then you see Brown coming out of that. So it's kind of a swing screen is what they call that, but it's thrown out to Brown by design.
Steady dose, Letty Brown. 32, maybe 1 upcoming. They'll stop him short, about 2 yards short of the line to gain, and it was Drew Wiley. Big play for this Kansas State defense, trying to scratch and claw their way back in it. 6 in the box on 3rd and short. Jet sweep action, TJ Simmons. Simmons with a stiff arm and ushered out at the 22. That's a gain of 21 yards as the drive continues for West Virginia.
Great timing on this. It's actually a forward pass by Daggy to Simmons on that jet sweep. It's the first time we've seen it in this variety. A lot of times that's Winston Wright, the receiver number 16, that does all the jet sweep type activity, but that time it was Simmons, and it was well timed.
That's chump change for quarterbacks, picking up 21 passing yards on what essentially is a glorified handoff. But he'll take it as Sinkfield is sent out right at the line and a flag on the field. I mean, I know you love picking up that kind of chunk yardage on just a simple pick ahead.
You take it however you can get it, but more importantly for a quarterback, it's how we move the football, and that was certainly a successful play by Simmons.
Holding, number 50, offense, 10-yard penalty, first down.
Brandon Yates, the redshirt freshman left tackle, under the spotlight.
Yeah, out on the edges, matched up against Wyatt Hubert, who's going to be a handful out there, setting the edge, keeping that right arm free, and then 50 Yates reaches out and grabs Hubert by the back of the jersey, and out at the point of attack, that's always going to be a flag.
Drive continues for the Mountaineers, now 1st and 20 after the infraction. Sidestep by Sinkfield, who had that big run in the first half. And he'll pick up 6 yards here with a stop by McPherson.
And a little bit of tempo right now by West Virginia offensively.
Play calling shared between Neil Brown and Jared Parker. We talked about that in the second quarter, and right now it's Neil Brown calling the bulk of the plays in between the 20-yard lines.
And that's
he'll signal
Parker,
in all of those plays as well, Kelly, excuse me.
And about time Parker takes over as you're nearing the red zone.
Sinkfield engulfed in a bear hug after a short gain. And McPherson flexing.
McPherson is a big play, strong safety that is a massive hitter. He's also a big play guy, and right now Kansas State's team as a whole could use a big play out of their defense.
Neil Brown telling us this week 31 for Kansas State was a big-time emphasis in their preparations for this game. He's got 6 tackles so far today. 3rd and long for WVU. Dagey, plenty of time. First down, West Virginia. Mike O'Laughlin the grab. Daniel Green the tackle, but not before he extends the drive with a gain of 16.
The motion by the back out of the backfield actually forced the defender to vacate the middle, and then it's Laughlin, the tight end, that comes from the opposite side right into that void on the back end. That was well designed by West Virginia. Watch him come into that void. That void is there because of the motion by the running back pre-snap. That's exactly how the pre-snap minutia works to have a successful play.
Opening drive of our second half. Play action for Dagey. Back of the end zone and incomplete. Breaking open momentarily was Sean Ryan, the Temple transfer. It'll be 2nd and goal.
And Roy, I don't know about you, but I just get the sense that this is really critical time into the red zone for Kansas State's defense. I don't know that Kansas State's offense has really found a whole lot of things that work, and it just seems like a touchdown here by West Virginia is a deep hole for Kansas State as this afternoon goes along.
12th play of the drive. Wildcats showing pressure. Dagey buys some time. And now flings it out of bounds. Now in the area was Letty Brown, but Kansas State, credit the secondary. Blanket coverage on the back end.
Offensive coordinator Gerald Parker talked to us about this part of Dagey's game. It's the pocket manipulation, knowing that you're not going to extend plays a lot if you're Jared Dagey. That's not really his game, but what you can do is learn how to manage the pocket. That time he got everything out of that play without ever leaving the pocket, and then when he had to, he made a good decision by throwing that football away.
Empty backfield on 3rd and goal as Brown motioned out. Pocket collapses. Dagey retreats and sends that pass out of bounds. Beyond the line of scrimmage, no intentional grounding in the field goal unit. Set to take playing surface here at Mountaineer Field.
And really good defense. There was pressure up inside, and that pressure coincided with terrific coverage on the back end in that red zone situation. That was a vital defensive stand, I have a feeling, for Kansas State.
Casey Legg on for the extra point for the injured Evan Staley, who went out with a lower body injury in our second quarter. And Legg, 2 for 4 on field goals last year, connects for his first attempt this season. So a 5-minute drive from 25 yards out. West Virginia on the board. All in action on ESPN networks today. Over on ABC right now, #1 Clemson in trouble. Minus Trevor Lawrence, trailing Boston College now by just 8 points. It's a 15-point deficit at halftime in Death Valley. Here West Virginia leads by 17 as Malik Knowles is tripped up short of the 30. And now for a look at today's powerful plays, brought to you by Duracell.
Well, in the first half, we had a couple of interceptions to start the game to begin with. It was Mahone that ended up coming down with the second one. Fortune was the first one, but the two interceptions by one of the best defenses in the country and just very tight windows all along in coverage by West Virginia has made it tough sledding for Will Howard. No running game to speak of in that first half. Actually 33 rushing yards, which is really the capstone for Kansas State offensively. So you wonder, based on the coverage that we were seeing right there in those interceptions, where are the big plays going to come from with Kansas State here in the second half?
Kelly adding to Kansas State's difficulty on this possession. A holding call will back up the Wildcats inside their own 10-yard line. Pair of freshmen in the backfield, a handoff to Deuce Vaughn, and it goes nowhere as we check in again with Kevin Connors.
And Roy, the Capital One fan vote takes us to Death Valley, where Clemson's college football playoff chances could hang in the balance. Down 28-13, 4th and 1. DJ Uiagalelei on the RPO keeper, all set up by a big Travis Etienne kick return. It's an 8-point game.
Interesting developments in Clemson, South Carolina. And it's interesting, too, to think about the playoff committee, which convenes for the first time next month, and how they would view a potential loss to BC minus Trevor Lawrence. The dump off to the fullback, Jax Deneen, and a quality pickup on 2nd and 9.
And in the meantime, Kansas State offensively is going to have to work it just like they are right here. West Virginia is going to force Will Howard to make quality decisions, string together multiple good plays in order to get points, and checking it down to Deneen right there as a fullback is one of those type of plays.
Where is the fullback gone in college football? 2020, you don't see a lot of big number 29s running around out there. Almost halfway through our third quarter as Howard flings it out. We check in again with Dr. Jerry Punch.
Yeah, Kelly Stoffer mentioned a moment ago that Kansas State had a total of 33 yards rushing in the first half. And Kelly, you read head coach Chris Kleinman's mind. Walking off at halftime, he looked at me and said, we have got to find a way to run the football. We got to be able to run the football to take some of the pressure off of our true freshman quarterback. We can't run the ball. We're in trouble. So he said, we got to make that a priority here in the second half.
And I think one of the ways that they can do that is more out of the RPO variety.
Setting up with Carl screen, and it's going to be intercepted. Picked off Dylan Tonkery for the West Virginia touchdown. And talk about a backbreaker for Kansas State, and this West Virginia defense is legit in 2020.
Well, West Virginia does a great job of defending this tunnel screen. So the wide receiver is working back to the ball, and the defender is in his hip pocket and doesn't allow the blocking really to get to him. I think Howard has to recognize that and simply throw the football away. You can't force a screen without it typically ending poorly for you as a quarterback, and that's what happened right there is Tonkery ends up taking that into the end zone.
The top defense in the country has been dominant so far today, playing at home. Pair of new defensive play callers, Jamal Adai, Jordan Leslie. And they are scheming up the Kansas State Wildcats, and Jared Dagey loves it.
Community.
Well, Roy, in a perfect world, Brooks, the slot receiver, is supposed to peel off the cover guy of Taylor, which is Drayshawn Miller. He doesn't get a very good block, and that's the start of bad things. And then Tonkery is going to just sniff out the screen. You're supposed to retrace your steps. Tonkery initially started after the quarterback, retraced his steps, and found the football right in his lap.
First career interception for Dylan Tonkery. Big day of college football as we send you back to Kevin Connors.
All right, Roy, Desmond Ridder under pressure here for his performance, but all he's done is account for 8 touchdowns in the last 7 quarters of football. This touchdown pass to Trey Tucker. Bearcats no problem with Memphis, 35-10 over on ESPN. And moments ago, DJ Uiagalelei to Amari Rogers for the touchdown. They went for 2, did not convert, so BC still up by 2 on ABC.
Unbelievable on Halloween, no less. Trickeration across the board in college football. And don't forget, Cincinnati is legit this year under Luke Fickell. What an incredible job he's done resurrecting that program. As Kansas State gets it halfway through our third quarter. Now trailing by 24, and we've got a stoppage in play already.
Kansas State takes their first charge timeout of the half. 30 seconds in late.
Not the performance Chris Kleiman in his second season in Manhattan expected today, as his team came in undefeated in conference play. But West Virginia really has been a thorn in the side of the Wildcats program. They've won the last 4, including an upset last year in the Little Apple when K-State was ranked. Jared Dagey got his first start as a Mountaineer, and he went on the road and engineered the upset.
And if you're Chris Kleiman, you build your program as certainly offensively on 2 things. Value the football and move the sticks. And Will Howard has put the ball in harm's way multiple times, uncharacteristically so in his young career. And then an inability to run it means that you can't move the sticks. And on the year, they've taken the football away, protected it really well, and they're -3 today.
Play action on first down. Dangerous toss to Brooks. And the coverage was there. Trayshawn Miller, he gave up the 1 touchdown earlier, but he has been all over these K-State receivers otherwise.
And Miller just doing a very good job of planting that back foot and driving on the football. Not a very good route by Brooks, but it's a simple hitch route that was late. And if a hitch route's late, the corner, and Miller in this case, is going to see the receiver stop. The quarterback takes a short drop, and the ball's late coming out. The corner is going to win that matchup.
Across the middle. Tight end has it. And that'll bring up 3rd down.
And speaking of tight ends, Briley Moore was hurt in that first half, and we didn't see him come back. And he's a huge part of this pass game. If Deuce Vaughn is not getting the ball out of the backfield at about 28 yards a pop when he catches it, then Moore is that matchup problem on the back end in coverage, and Moore got hurt, and there's few and far between in that pass game right now for Kansas State.
Howard will keep it, needed 2, he'll gain 3. Ball came out after he was already ruled down. Tyke Smith with a stop.
Down by rule prior to the ball coming loose. 4th down.
And it actually is a first down.
The result of the play is a first down. Correction.
And this is where we'll see Howard carry the football. It's by design. It's typically in situations just like this to pick up a first down. And I think that's something that will expand this offense as time goes on, because I think Will Howard is a nice athlete that has the ability to run with the football.
Tyler Burns gets his first touch. And you mentioned Will Howard. Here's a guy that had Ivy League offers coming out of high school. Talked with him this week, and we said, if it wasn't Kansas State, where would you have gone? And he said, maybe Minnesota, Harvard, or Yale. Had a lot of options on the table, but really fell in love with his Kansas State coaching staff.
Sure he didn't fall in love with Carson Wentz? That's kind of where the love affair started, right?
Yeah. Courtney Messingham told us this week when Skylar Thompson went out, no one really blinked. And that pass incomplete. Heavy traffic again.
DJ Render was the intended receiver on a curl route, which is a timing route, and this ball's late. And when you're late against West Virginia's coverage, they're going to have eyes on the quarterback and break on the football. And the ball is late coming out with the young quarterback, and that's happened multiple times today.
Third and 4. Slant. First down, Phillip Brooks. Stopped at the 47. So a gain of 10 as Sean Mahone stopped him dead in his tracks, but that'll keep the drive moving for the Wildcats.
And that's really what it's going to take. First of all, that's what West Virginia forces it to do. Phillip Brooks is going to run just inside into that window. Show your numbers to the quarterback as you get in that void, but then the ball has to come out on time just like that. That was great timing. Will Howard has been late multiple times today, and it's gotten him in trouble.
Quick strike, Brooks, second catch in as many plays. Into plus territory as Dante Stills belted him down quickly. Gain of 8.
Roy, you get the sense of what it takes to be successful against West Virginia's defense. It takes a lot of good plays being strung together in order to get points. West Virginia forces you to be efficient offensively, and Kansas State typically has been that, but they haven't been that this afternoon.
Officially a gain of 7. Howard back to the air, and he's going to be brought down behind the line. The Stills brothers have been major weapons this year. It was Dante Stills that got to the quarterback first that time.
And Dante is the slightly bigger Stills brother that certainly knows how to get after the quarterback. He's going to actually work his way up inside, and Stills will do that. Dante will move around a little bit. He's more of a prototypical defensive end. That time he slides down inside, and then it's a really decent pass rusher on an inside offensive lineman, and Stills wins that one.
After a loss of 8, another sack. Mesidor got there, Akeem Mesidor, the freshman from Canada.
Incessant pressure, and Mesidor is actually standing at the linebacker position. That's a 270-pound listed as a defensive tackle / defensive end. He lines up as an extra rusher in that second level, and it worked right there.
34-10 our score. West Virginia gets it back, and we've got a studio update coming up. Very much. Morgantown, West Virginia, the Mountaineers holding serve at home against number 16 Kansas State with Kelly Stopper, Roy Philpott, Dr. Jerry Punch on the sidelines on this beautiful Saturday. And certainly even more spectacular if you're a fan of the Mountaineers of West Virginia. Letty Brown, ultra productive, the spin move, and another first down after a hard hit.
Letty Brown's favorite play, the inside zone run. Very decisive runner. You press the line of scrimmage, those double teams get to the second level, and then you just hit it right down Broadway.
First down pass, incomplete. Pass was intended for Isaiah Esdale. Saw Brown on the wrong end of this collision, Kelly.
Yeah, Brown is an effort guy. I mean, he absolutely gets everything out of each run, and typically is the one delivering the blow at the end of the run.
It's Ross Elder laying the lumber. 2nd and 10. Wildcats showing pressure, play action for Dagey, a little pump fake, and a positive gain on 2nd and long. Cody Fletcher brought him down.
And I think this was the triple option variety. It's zone run inside to Brown. If Dagey pulls it, he gets to the edge and he can run it like he did right there, or he actually has a throw out wider as the third option. So the pump fake, I think, was intentional to run it this time, but there is an option outside many times on that play.
3rd down and 7 for WVU. Banks sets up in the backfield. Lead blocker Letty Brown. Stops short. It'll bring up 4th down and a long 1. Daniel Green, the initial contact. Let's see what West Virginia wants to do here.
Well, it's not typically a time to be going for it on 4th down, and I think certainly West Virginia is going to punt it away, but 4th and short with Letty Brown in this offensive line that is kind of in sync with their physical running back. Neil Brown has some options, but they're going to punt it away this time.
They did fake a punt last week in Lubbock as Winston Wright Took a jet sweep for a first down. They won't do it here. Colton McGee sends it to Phillip Brooks. 2 punt returns for a touchdown a week ago. Bottled up short of the 30 here. So 1:44 remaining in our third quarter. Kansas State trailing big. Offense has been held in check by this sensational WVU defensive effort. And I want to talk more about that, Kelly, because these guys on the defensive side for the Mountaineers, after Vic Koenig left in the offseason, a pair of defensive play callers have done a phenomenal job kind of resurrecting this defense. And we're talking about Jamal Adai and Jordan Leslie.
Yeah, and they approach it together. Adai has the back end as a defensive back coach, and then Leslie is on the front end, the defensive line coach. So they have both perspectives.
Quick toss from Howard. And a fullback pick up 6, maybe 7. That's Jack Stadine. And as you see, Jamal Adai coaches cornerbacks, defensive play caller as well. And they told us this week too, you know, the transition from Vic Koenig to a pair of defensive play callers has been extremely easy, and that's not really something that you hear too often for 2 guys sharing those duties. Trotter will lose a couple.
Well, Adai and Leslie had that relationship and rapport already on Koenig's staff, and so they really just hit the ground running. I think they bring both perspectives, the front end and the back end. They game plan together during the week, and let's not lose sight of the fact that they have a really good group. They knew this group had the potential to be one of the best defenses in the land, and that's exactly what they've been up to this point in time in the season.
3rd and a long 4. Quick toss, Brooks swatted away, Sean Mahone.
Everything is contested. Everything has to be earned, and Mahomes this time is going to break on the ball and break that up, but there is nothing easy out there, and Adai loves that. He coaches that back end, but he's very good also on the front end with the Stills brothers in particular.
Mountaineers defense forcing another quick punt. And WVU will take it near its own 25-yard line. Well, coming up tonight, the big game is almost here. Ohio State, Penn State. Happy Valley will be the scene as the Buckeyes and Nittany Lions, one of the great rivalries, not only in the Big Ten, but nationally, will get it on once again. 7:30 Eastern, 4:30 Pacific, over on ABC, the ESPN app. And all sorts of impact games in terms of the college football playoff coming up. Clemson's got to get past Boston College today first.
Yeah, no question about that. And what kind of condition is Wisconsin going to be in going forward? With the quarterback Mertz out indefinitely in COVID protocol. So, you know, COVID is the one winning the battle in a lot of those matchups currently.
Yet we continue to play, and it's been a great start, a fascinating start in 2020 on the gridiron. Justin Hughes makes the stop after a short gain for the Ears. Time winding down in the third quarter. Mountaineers going to add 10 points to their halftime advantage. Milan Pushkar Stadium at about 20% capacity. The pick 6, Dylan Tonkery, and the lead is 24 with 15 to play in Morgantown. Virginia leading number 16 Kansas State by 24, 15 to play in Morgantown. Dr. Jerry Punch, Kelly Stauffer, Roy Philpott. Mountaineers in search of their 3rd conference win of the season on a very busy day of college football. And they'll have it on 2nd and 8 from their own 30-yard line. Sinkfield stopped after a gain of 2, maybe 3. Neil Brown, year number 2, Kelly, and we saw the Mountaineers once last season in a loss at Missouri. Identity of the offense really was Hard to figure in that time. He'd only coached for a couple of games, obviously. But this go around, the run game in a better position. Jarrett Doege starting to figure things out. So there's an injury timeout for a Kansas State player. It looks a lot different second go around, doesn't it?
He really does. And we talked to him about what he wants his offense to look like in a perfect world. And he said, we want to rush for somewhere in the 150 to 175 neighborhood. Is Drew Wiley. We're waiting for him to get off the field, but we'll finish it after break here. But we'll talk more about how Neil Brown is building the program in Morgantown.
Number 59, Drew Wiley, Kansas State player, shaking up.
You back in Morgantown, West Virginia. Dr. Jerry Bunch, Kelly Stopper, I'm Roy Philpott. Mountaineers back at home off a loss at Texas Tech a week ago, and they have been impressive against number 16 K-State. That'll continue. The toss to T.J. Banks, and a first down for the Mountaineers. Check that. It was Reese Smith with a grab, Kelly.
And Reese Smith is running an option route from his slot position against man coverage. Very good job of diagnosing by Doege right there. Just find the guy who is quick out of the slot against man-to-man coverage. It has a two-way go from that slot position, and that was Reese Smith.
Good day for Jarrett Doege.
Guys, I'll finish up after the play here. I want to tell you a little humorous story about Jarrett Doege.
Letty Gain drop for a loss.
Like
Dr. Jerry Bunch.
Yeah, it seems like during the quarantine, Neil Brown told the players, use whatever means you can to stay in shape and be ready to play. So Jarrett Doege was home. He got his mom and dad involved. He set up cones on the field, had his mom stepping between cones as he was trying to work on his footwork, and then he would roll out and throw the deep out to his dad in the end zone. Now, word was mom and dad worked with him every day, and also word was that mom never sacked him once.
I think mom would have something else to say about that.
Yeah, quarantine was a difficult time, but you do what you have to do to get better. And we've heard a lot of stories like that across college football since we got cranked up last month. Across the middle, that flag falls in. Looking for Winston Wright, and that should be pass interference or either holding against Kansas State. Will Jones was in coverage replacing the injured A.J. Parker today.
Holding, number 76, offense, 10-yard penalty, second down.
Barrett, the guilty party. There you see mom and dad helping out their son. Boy, you gotta love that, Kelly.
Well, hold on a second. What is mom doing if she had something to do with sacking the quarterback, but she has the football and seems to be doing the footwork stuff that Jared was supposed to be doing? I'm a little confused there, Doc. Enlighten us on what mom was doing right there with the football.
She was showing him the quick footwork that she learned at dance routine. So
there you
and
go.
obviously he learned well because he used it on a long pass.
Bryce Ford Wheaton for 31 yards.
And this is a part of the pass game that hasn't existed consistently this year. It's run it physically inside, control pass game, the RPO, and then take advantage of opportunities when they present themselves outside against press coverage, as Ford Wheaton does right there.
Bryce Ford Wheaton over 100 yards receiving today. Another punishing run by Letty Brown. He's over the century mark as well. Gain of 2, the tackle by Huggins.
We were talking about Neil Brown and how he's putting together this offense. Last year they couldn't run it a lick. They were 128th out of 130 teams in the country. And the foundation of Neil Brown's successful offenses in the past have been running the football with a workhorse like Letty Brown. But the thing that has been missing is consistent explosive plays in the pass game, particularly to wide receivers. We've seen more of that today.
A lot more. And Doege wants more. End zone. Who else? And it's incomplete. Now Bryce Ford Wheaton, that 6'3" frame, got a couple of paws on it, couldn't haul it in.
And Ford Wheaton probably should have had this. The ball was slightly underthrown, but it gets through to Ford Wheaton, and Wheaton just simply can't secure it. Justin Gardner, the big physical corner, the JUCO transfer, was on the coverage, but Ford Wheaton got by him. The throw may have been slightly underthrown, but catchable nonetheless.
12 to play. Mountaineers threatening again already, leading by 24. Delayed give to Brown with a crease and a first down. Letty Brown all the way down to the 11-yard line. There is a flag on the field as we check the infraction.
Holding, number 50, offense, 10-yard penalty, third down.
And this is the left tackle, Brandon Yates, again on the hold. I believe that's Yates' second hold, but this is a play where Neil Brown called his team out in that run game as well. It's the draw in third down situations or long yardage situations, and Letty Brown has the ability to run this well. It isn't always just a north and south play, and Brown bounced it that particular time as he should have, but Yates got called for the hold nonetheless.
Relatively clean game for the Mountaineers so far, facing 3rd and 18 though after that last penalty. Daggy, pocket collapses, the dump off is there to Brown. And you know, West Virginia, Kelly, really suffered massive case of the dropsies, as you called it this week, the last couple of weeks. Receivers and the backs have been much stronger with their hands today. Neil Brown told us this week, look, that's been an emphasis. We're not going to shy away from it. We got to catch the football better, especially after what happened in Lubbock last weekend.
Yeah, and I think the receivers have done a really nice job today. It's not only catching the ball well, but well-placed balls that have allowed the receivers to have yards after the catch. Is, I believe right now, Neil Brown is debating whether he wants to go for it or not. Maybe just let the clock run down and take the field goal.
West Virginia takes their first charge timeout of the half.
And the starting kicker, Evan Staley, is out. We'll see what Neil Brown elects to do after this. Defensive line for West Virginia with pocket protection, brought to you by Nationwide, Kelly.
Jared Daggy has played really well today, but he's been protected really well. Prototypical pocket, find Jennings on the back of the end zone line for a touchdown, and then the same thing here, protection. Siegfeld steps up to help, and also the quarterback Daggy steps up in the pocket, throws off a platform accurately to Winston Wright for the touchdown. Good protection, good route running, and good decision making by Jared Daggy.
So out of the timeout, 4th and 12, and Neil Brown's going to utilize his backup kicker, Casey Legg, for a 45-yard field goal attempt. Coming on for the injured Evan Staley. And from the right hash, Casey Legg off the bench. You love a kicker with that last name, and it's good. And the Mountaineers extending their lead.
Absolutely, and that was a Legg has been money right down Main Street. Finishes a drive for West Virginia.
MLS Soccer Sunday returns. It's an Eastern Conference matchup for playoff positioning. 3rd place Columbus. The Crew are going to host 1st place Philadelphia Union. That's tomorrow, 3:30 Eastern, 12:30 Pacific on ABC, ESPN Deportes, also the ESPN app. Major League Soccer presented by Audi. Back in Morgantown. Score tells the story. Kelly Stoffer, Roy Philpott, Dr. Jerry Punch on hand on a brilliant afternoon for college football in the rough and rugged Big 12. After the field goal extends the Mountaineers lead, K-State gets it as Brooks takes it out. And quickly sandwich at the 15 as we check in again with Kevin Connors.
All right, Roy, Travis Etienne passed NC State's Ted Brown to become the all-time ACC rushing leader. He's given Clemson the lead as well. The Tigers outscoring BC 19-0 in the second half. They've allowed just 39 yards. Clemson leading over on ABC. Meantime, Charlie Brewer coming off a 2-touchdown performance against Texas a week ago. Baylor and TCU next here on ESPN2. Roy?
Kevin, we appreciate that update. Kansas State with possession as Will Howard staring squarely in the direction of his first loss as a starting quarterback. Deuce Vaughn straight ahead. He really has never gotten going. He'll push the pile for a gain of 7 on first down.
Yeah, Deuce Vaughn has really been the big play guy in this offense. And when you lose Briley Moore to begin with and that injury in that first half, and then Vaughn has really been, without an impact whatsoever today in the run game or the pass game. And so with Kansas State offensively, you have to wonder where they're going to get their yards, and it's been few and far between against this West Virginia defense today.
On 2nd and 3, Howard sends it deep and incomplete. Taylor the intended target. You mentioned Deuce Vaughn, only player in the country, Kelly, with over 300 yards rushing and receiving coming into this game today. And to get absolutely no production from him, tip of the cap to the WVU defense. They've done a great job against an ultra explosive player.
Yeah, and you look down the road, West Virginia's defense is probably the best in this conference, and then you have Oklahoma State that's playing really good defense, and Iowa State the next 2 weeks. And so if the defense is good enough to make you somewhat one-handed and force you to have explosive plays in the pass game, Kansas State, can you do that? And today that hasn't happened.
Howard to Brooks, that'll keep the drive going. Stopped at the 41-yard line.
Roy, I look at the receiver group for Kansas State, and there isn't anyone in that list that really scares me in terms of coverage. Who can consistently get open, particularly vertically? And I just don't see the guys that are on that list that would scare a defense in coverage. Briley Moore has to be the table setter for this pass game for Kansas State, and he went out in the first half, and you've seen the inability for Kansas State to get much of anything going consistently in that pass game.
Backside pressure, and Howard fortunate that he didn't lose possession of the football. Jared Bartlett was barreling down quickly.
And Bartlett was matched up on Tyler Burns. The running back was up in protection, and Bartlett is a high motor guy, to say the least. He's running fast somewhere all the time, and that was a poor effort by Burns, and Bartlett hardly felt resistance and ran around Burns and got to the quarterback Howard.
After a loss of 8, Wildcats regroup. Look at Oklahoma State next week, and they'll have to go back to the drawing board for that one. As Howard scampers for a 2-yard gain. Tyke Smith, the hard collision. It'll bring up 3rd and long.
And Roy, you talked about it. West Virginia today, Oklahoma State next week, and then there's a bye week, and then at Iowa State. And the thing that those 3 teams have in common is they can score points, but they can defend the tar out of the football. And they make, a lot of times, Kansas State's offense will have to go long field in order to get points. And they've showed the lack of ability to do that consistently today.
Pressure for Howard. A dump off to Sammy Wheeler. And on 3rd and 15, a 3-yard gain's not going to cut it. Josh Chandler, Samito.
And it's eyes on the football and then breaking on the ball in a form tackle. Chandler's Samito ends up breaking on the ball, but I saw this on tape and was impressed, but it's more impressive to see it live and in person, is watching this defense. They are well coached, and they are hair on fire type guys.
Ty Zitner will punt it away. It'll take a Kansas State bounce. The Mountaineers will have it under 7 to play. All WVU at home. It'll still be quite a scene as Ohio State and Penn State do battle once again tonight. It was interesting. Head coach of the Nittany Lions, James Franklin, posted on Twitter earlier this week, Kelly, a very simplistic post. He simply wrote Ohio State, Ohio State, Ohio State, and repeated it about 25 times on social media as Cody Fletcher gets the tackle. And that was it, indicating a clear and present focus on the Buckeyes after that devastating loss in Bloomington a week ago.
Yeah, there isn't any question that Penn State's attention is going to be in the right place, but whether they can do anything about some guy named Justin Fields, it remains to be seen. A lot of departures on that defensive side for Penn State, and you could see that void in that first game against Indiana.
A close game in Clemson, South Carolina today as Sinkfield, the big gainer and a first down, ushered out short of the 30-yard line. Close game in Ann Arbor, Michigan as well.
And Sinkfield is, we talked about it, a contrast to Letty Brown, but also a slasher with a bit more speed, maybe in open field. But nonetheless, the result's the same. It's the traffic up inside, it's working hard and then bouncing it outside, and a pretty good yards per carry average today.
Yeah, I'm no mathematician, but kind of popped off the screen. Interesting to see what develops in Happy Valley tonight. Sinkfield barrels ahead as we check in with Kevin Connors once again.
And Roy, you touched on it. Mel Tucker's team turned it over 7 times in a loss to Rutgers last week. They have 0 turnovers today. They also have a 10-point lead. Connor Hayward, TD run. Paul Bunyan's trophy on the line, and right now Sparty looking at it. 10-point lead, 5 minutes to go. Roy?
What a win that would be for first-year head coach Mel Tucker, coming in from Boulder, Colorado, of all places, after an upset against Rutgers, as KC reference. And then you go back and you beat Michigan, who blasted Minnesota on the road last week. Are you kidding? Daggy comes up just short on the scramble. Let's see where they spot it. 3rd and 1.
And when a quarterback goes into a slide, it's where he begins his slide and where the ball is at that point where the ball is going to be marked. You don't get where you slid to, and you could see it on that play. Sometimes the quarterback gets down just a little bit prematurely, as Daggy did right there. We'll see if they can pick it up on 3rd and 1.
Power set, Sinkfield. Boy, there was a rushing lane there for a moment. He took it right back into traffic. Keandre Thomas was ready and waiting for Kansas State. It's going to bring up 4th down.
Well, that's what Neil Brown got on his running backs for after last week, is too much dancing around, too much moving of the feet. Plant your foot and make a decision and get north and south, and you could see Sinkfield right there. I think you had it exactly right, Roy. There was some room to be had initially if you just stay with the point of attack up into the line of scrimmage.
Chain gang will make their way across the field, plus territory now for West Virginia. Mountaineers have dominated this one. The defense has led the charge if you're just tuning in. Quality start for Jared Daggy. He's going to improve to 2-0 against Kansas State.
Taco Bell's Nachos Party Pack. Delicious nachos topped with all your favorites. Only at Taco Bell.
4th and a half an inch.
Yeah, a couple of chain links, literally. But that indecisiveness in a premature bounce by Sinkfield, and he comes up 2 links short.
Now, West Virginia wants to use that 4-minute offense or grind out the clock, so they're going to go for it. The outcome of this one no longer in doubt, and it hasn't been for about the last quarter and a half. And Kelly, you look at these two teams, regardless of what happens on this play. Kansas State in a great position for postseason play. They'll fall to 4-2 after this afternoon. But West Virginia now take a major step forward under a second-year head coach in Neil Brown.
Second charge, timeout of the half. 30 seconds in late.
And he'll talk things over with his club right now. But get to a bowl game, year number 2, you brand your offense with this rush game and Letty Brown. You look at the remaining schedule, it's doable. It's not easy, but you win another game or two, that's going to get you into a bowl, and I think that's where you want to be in this crazy year we call 2020.
Yeah, and you know why all of it's doable is first and foremost because of the defense that West Virginia presents every Saturday. And then they also want to run the football, which allows them to dictate tempo to some extent. And now Jared Dagey is making consistently better decisions. All of that adds up to the way Neil Brown wants to build his program. We talked about it. I said, ideally, offensively, what does your group look like? He said he wants to rush for 150 to 175. Well, guess what they have today? 181. They're averaging about that on the year. We want to throw for around 300. Guess what they have today? 298. They turn the ball over typically in bunches, and they force the opposing offense to swim upstream all the time.
Dagey on 4th and short, and that'll move the sticks. And Dr. Jerry Punch, Neil Brown doing a great job in year number 2. Now he'll improve to 4-2 this season.
Hey guys, at halftime, I talked about Neil Brown going in. He had to be pleased with his offense and his defense at the half. So what do you say to your players? You know what he did? The one word we heard more than anything in the locker room throughout the half was the word Oklahoma. He said that to the players. He said it to the coaches. He wanted to remind his team that this team they're playing today was down by 21 to Oklahoma, and these guys just don't quit. Over and over and over said Oklahoma, and I think it worked.
Yeah, I think it's worked to perfection. Approaching 3 to play. Sink field, gain a yard. And for Kansas State, Kelly, you mentioned it, the rest of the schedule, Oklahoma State, a showdown next week, and the top of the Big 12 standings will be at stake there. Chris Kleiman has rebranded this team, it feels like, under the old ball coach, Bill Snyder, and kind of what he did in Manhattan for all those years. It's almost like a new age version of it, despite this loss this afternoon.
I think that's a great way to put it. You keep the best of the traditions of the past, which is special teams and you can see right there, those 4 wins, they had to fight for those. They had to come back in a couple of instances. And you have the ability to come back when you're sound in every aspect of the game, and that's how Chris Kleiman is building this program. As we see another run up the middle by Sinkfield, it's keeping the best of Bill Snyder, which is special teams always have to fall in your favor. And then defensively, you need to be sound and you need to tackle extremely well. Offensively, run the football and value every possession. And that was the difference in many ways today, is Will Howard just threw the ball in harm's way all too often, and they could not run the football. So going forward, that obviously is something that's going to have to be corrected.
Time winding down in Morgantown. And the jet sweep for a short gain. Don't forget about Big 12 Now on ESPN Plus. It's a must-have for all Big 12 fans. Tuesday, you'll get Chris Kleiman's press conference. He'll break down everything from this game today against West Virginia. Plus, there's Mountaineer women's volleyball Friday, 6 Eastern. WVU takes on Iowa State. And each Thursday, of course, you go all access with Okie State. Our time, Oklahoma State football. Unprecedented footage, sounds from players and coaches. If you're a Big 12 fan, you got to have it. Sign up today at ESPNplus.com/Big 12. The Mountaineers sending a statement with this score. It'll be West Virginia's first win against a ranked opponent in more than 2 years. That encompassed 7 straight losses to ranked foes. Last win was against Texas back in 2018. So, Kelly, always good to get off the schneid to that regard.
Yeah, in many ways, we saw how Kansas State wants to play complementary football with their win over Kansas last week. Special teams were huge. You had some turnover or takeaway points by the defense. You ran the ball well. West Virginia is really playing their style of football today. A defense that can be overwhelming for an opposing offense, and controlling the ball through a run game as they press in on 190 yards today. Good decision making by a quarterback in Dagey. And so this is really in many ways who Neil Brown wants to be in his program going forward.
be the third conference victory for WVU.
And Roy, you
Try to
look
get a
at it
first
going
down here.
forward. You know, at Texas, home against TCU and Oklahoma, and then Iowa State. That's a tough stretch, but West Virginia matches up well against those teams.
Sinkfield lost it, picked up by the Wildcats and ushered out near midfield after the turnover. We'll send you now to the studio. Kevin Connors.
All right, Roy, an update on things in Death Valley. 4th and 3, Boston College down 4, going for it. Dennis Grosell, Hunter Long, that is a first down. BC stuck in another 4th and long right now. It's a 4-point Clemson lead over on ABC.
Tick, 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 tick in Death Valley. Hunter Long's one of the best tight ends in the country. If you haven't heard that name before, get used to it, especially with the way Boston College likes to throw it around the park. Last fumble picked up by K-State. Gaines is the one that had it. Nick Goss onto the field, a 6'5", 219-pound junior. Big win for West Virginia today. Mountaineers will improve to 4-2. It's already been a wacky day in college football. And we'll have TCU and Baylor as soon as we're done here.
Personal foul, face mask, number 42, defense, 15-yard penalty, automatic, first down.
So we'll have the Bears and the Horned Frogs. Updates from around the nation. Big game tonight, Ohio State and Penn State. We'll see if Clemson can hold on over on ABC against Boston College. And it's that time of year. You get to Halloween night and you expect the unexpected. We'll see if that happens in Happy Valley this evening. Short gain for Keon Mosey, his first carry.
Well, Halloween night seems like the tailor-made holiday for COVID 2020 in college football. There isn't any question. I think that list of intangibles that are in play because of the COVID season we're in the midst in, you just don't know what next week is going to look like. Just ask Clemson as they're playing without their star quarterback. But those stories are pervasive over college football. So the landscape changes dramatically from one week to the next.
Should be the final play of this one. A huge win for West Virginia at home. Mountaineers will improve to 4-2. Wildcats will lose their first Big 12 game of the year. They also will fall to 4-2. 27-point win for Kelly Stauffer and Dr. Jerry Punch, our producer Greg Pike, our director Jimmy Lee Starling. I'm Roy Philpott saying so long from Morgantown as we send you now to the studio. Here's Kevin Connors.